Hello everyone who is joining today. This is me, 𝗦𝗽𝗶𝗲𝗸, and we have a very special guest with us who is going to help us learn about aliens and about life beyond Earth. What is life beyond Earth? Is it possible? Is it not possible? How can we learn more about it from right here on Earth? And many more exciting things, and even your questions will be answered today. So we have Dr. Armando, who is joining us from Spain, and he is a research scientist. He is working at the Center of Astrobiology, and I am very excited to have you here, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here, and we are so happy to have you here too, sir. So we have some presentation. So all the students, we are going to discuss and learn something about aliens from a scientist, and then your questions will be answered too. So listen carefully, and we're beginning now.
All right. So this is actually a shorter version of a college course on which we focus on the very interesting question of the search for complex life in the universe. And the question is, well, how can we assess from the point of view of science how many, not only whether there is life or not elsewhere beyond the solar system, but where there are ancient or there are other civilizations. So I usually start my college course with this map of the Star Wars galaxy, in which, from the science fiction point of view, they have pointed all the type of the civilization that appears in the movies, from the Ewoks to the Mon Calamari to the Kaminoans. So the question is, from the point of science, how we can predict or approach this question and whether it could be true or not. One of the first scientist that was able to do that was Frank Drake, an astronomer for Harvard University, which I took the pleasure of meeting a few years ago, whom first approached on how we can manage the question of how we can calculate the number of civilizations elsewhere in our galaxy. So he said that for that you will have to this n, which is the number of technologically advanced civilization in our galaxy, you will need to know a number of factors. For example, the rate of formations of stars in the galaxy, how many stars there are there, right? The fractions of those stars that have planetary systems, and from that, the number of planets that are suitable for life, that is, the planets that are habitable. From that fraction, we need to know how many of those planets are actually inhabited, which is different. A planet can be habitable but not inhabited, which is different. For example, it's the case of Mars. Mars, we think is habitable, but at least yet we don't have any evidence where it's inhabited, which is different. From those fraction of planets, we have to calculate how many have developed some kind of intelligent civilization. And from that fraction of planets, we have to calculate how many have developed technology enough to transmit information from place to place so we can hear from them. And also, another important factor, which is the length of the time that those communications we can hear around. Because, for example, in the 1950s, all the communication was done through antennas, and you can hear it anywhere in the world, or in the moon if you want. Now, most of the communication are by cable, fiber optics, right? So nothing goes out. So there is just a length of the civilization there where it's sending signals, and they quickly go quiet again, not because they are not there anymore, because they are so advanced that the communications are very efficient. So the answer is that up to now, we know there are thousands of planets. Here I have the solar system as a scale of size. We know there are many planetary systems around. Actually, nowadays, we know that just in the neighborhood of our sun, there are more than 5,000 planets, which are organized in more than almost 4,000 planetary systems. And there is still more than 9,000 planet candidates. That is, that we have evidence of planets that we have detected, but we have to confirm it yet. So this is a huge number, and again, only in the neighborhood of our sun. There are so many planets around that even our closest star, which is Proxima Centauri, has at least one planet. You can easily see the Centaurus constellation from the southern hemisphere. And there, in Proxima Centauri, which is just 4.24 light years away, we have detected that there is a planet. But consider this: even our closest, what we call an exoplanet, because it's a planet beyond our solar system, we would take a long time to reach there, because even our fastest spaceships, which in this case spaceships like the Voyager, which are traveling at more than 60,000 kilometers per hour, they will take 74,000 years to reach our nearest star. And that is a problem if we want to better explore the exoplanets, right? For that, the problem was already posed by our friend Albert Einstein, because he said, well, the energy is equal to the mass times the speed of the light of square. That means if you want to reach really high speeds in order to make the voyage shorter, you have a problem, because everything with mass will require a lot of energy. Just an astronaut is a lot of mass. Consider an entire spaceship. So for the moment, we don't have the technologies to create such a big spaceship to send to our nearest star, and thus its exoplanet. But if you are intelligent enough, you have detected that if you build a very small spaceship, then you can accelerate that to much higher speed. And actually, there is an initiative now which is called the Starshot mission, which are creating these solar veils, which are just 2 centimeters, just this big, that will be accelerated by powerful lasers, which are precisely located in the Atacama Desert, which I'm studying. And with that acceleration, they will be able to reach 1/3 of the speed of light, and will reach Proxima Centauri in about 20 years. We will send thousands of these little spaceships, just with one camera, a little camera, in order to go through those stars and then take a few pictures of what we think how another planet in another planetary system would look. But then again, consider that we have all the big numbers we have talked about, thousands and thousands of planets around us, is just in the neighborhood, as I said, in our sun. Consider that in our galaxy, we have between 100 and 400 billion stars. And then for those 400 billion stars, we think there are at least 100 billion planets. And from those fraction of planets, if you do the statistical calculations, more or less about 300 million should have some kind of life forms. And from those fractions, about 300,000 should have an technologically advanced civilization like the one you see in the movie Avatar, for example. And from that fraction again, 3,000 should be highly advanced, at least at the level that we have on Earth. So that gives you a very interesting thought, because when you look at the sky next time, think about that 1/2 of the star you can see at least have one planet. So there is a lot of planets around. And all this, all the story we have talked now is just for our own galaxy, the Milky Way. If you consider the whole universe, and almost every object you see in this picture is as a galaxy, we think there is about 2 trillion galaxies. So multiply 2 trillion galaxies for the number of civilizations I just talked about, which are 3,000. It's a huge possibility of there's some advanced civilization elsewhere. So this map doesn't look so crazy after all. If you take the actual science. So it may be that in one place of our own galaxy, or maybe another galaxy, something like this actually is taking place, where other different races of aliens are joining in a bar to take a drink, right? That is, from the point of science, we cannot yet say that could not be possible. And with that, I end, and I will be happy to answer all your questions from this another topic of alien planet would you would like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Armando. And that was such a beautiful presentation. And till our students are typing in their questions. So students, you can type your questions in the YouTube chat. I will be taking them in just 2-3 minutes. But so my question was, you said in one of your TED Talks that when people are finding alien signals or aliens outside the Earth, we are sending these huge, whether it's satellites, spaceships, all of these outside the Earth, you will be looking for the evidence right here on Earth. So, would you like to explain that? Because that was such a new thing to read, and I was so mesmerized by that.
Maybe it is related to the fact that my field of knowledge is astrobiology, which is a rather new scientific discipline which is concerned in the study of the origin of life on Earth and the possibilities of finding life elsewhere. So I think that what you refer is that we don't talk about the origin of life on Earth, we talk about the origins, plural, of life on Earth, because we have evidence that life arose on our planet at the last part of the late heavy bombardment, which was the last part of many other bodies coming to Earth, asteroids, the meteorite, big events that, with the biggest bodies, they imagine that life may have originated in one place of the planet. One of these big impacts will have sterilized the planet entirely. So life may have started several times and then be annihilated by these big events. So we think that there may be yet still some remains of those previous origins of life, and we are just seeing the evidence of the latest origin of life, which then gave rise to everything we know. And there are people looking for alternative form of life, which, for example, use different type of amino acids, etc., that will not be easy to detect on our own planet, in order to see if we have evidences of those previous origins of life that gave rise to truly different type of life forms. And I'm talking here about microorganisms. We don't expect to find a weird type of elephant or something like that, right? The different type of microorganisms. So there are people looking for those evidence. And the other thing is that it's a very interesting also question that in the case of Mars, it has a lot of water and a much better atmosphere at this environmental conditions. At the same time, life was originated on Earth. So it may have been the case that life may have originated on Mars as well. Now, we know that we receive every year about 30 tons of Mars material. We have allowed at least something like 30 Martian meteorites that we know we are certain that came from Mars. So that lets you calculate how much of Mars is coming every year. Most of that Mars material will burn in the atmosphere. Some of them will be able to reach as a meteorite, right? Which we could study, which means that if both Mars and Earth had the same conditions, more or less, in order for life to be able to start, it may be the case that life may have originated on Mars and travel with these impact events going to Earth, and then, so to speak, inoculated us. And in order to look for Martians, we would just need to look to our mirror, right? Or it may be the opposite case, that maybe life arose on Earth, and, for example, in the latest big impact that may have thrown material to space, which is the one in 65 million years ago, which wiped out the dinosaurs, a lot of materials went to space. So it may have been the case also in the past, similar events, that pieces of Earth went to Mars and colonized Mars. And it would not be a surprise if we ever find evidence of life on Mars that is exactly the same on Earth. That would mean that such processes may have taken place, either that we contaminated Mars or vice versa. Maybe related. There are two answers for your question that may have been related to that.
Yes. And yeah, I had never thought about that. If we are finding or searching for Martians, we can find the signals, we can find the evidence right here on Earth. Because as Dr. Armando is saying, life can be possible on Mars too. We have not found any evidence for it yet, but it is a habitable place. If there is any life, it can be very different from here on Earth. And it could have been that there was some form of life on Mars, and it may have traveled to Earth when there are these bombardments happening and asteroid is colliding, meteorites are reaching here on Earth. And one of those cases could have been the reason why we have life on Earth. And that's such an exciting theory. And we have some students who are now asking a lot of questions related to aliens. And I think you might have also heard, like, whenever we introduce this aliens, the very first question that comes is, are there aliens here on Earth itself in Area 51? So how do you answer that? Like, there is science and research happening.
Let me tell you a very interesting story. Remember, you are talking with a scientist, right? So in 2004, I was invited by NASA in order to attend a similar student gathering at the Nevada desert. So we went there with students, with many professors, and we talk about our work, etc., etc. So in my way to that place, because I landed in Las Vegas and then I had to go into that place, which was an abandoned station from a local university that was still used as a place where you could do ecological research. This is amazing. We stopped by a driving place where you know, for drinking water or whatever, and that was very close to the purported Area 51. Which for many decades was the 926 until just a few years ago that I don't know which the FBI or CIA says, yes, Area 51 does exist, is there. Okay, so we stopped up by that cafe and they have on a frame the original copy of the newspaper of the day when that supposed object hit Earth, an alien ship, right? And so you can see the interview from the general of the Air Force Base, because there was an Air Force Base there from the beginning, saying, yes, we have found something, but we have no idea what is it, where is it? It doesn't fit any known technology. And then the next, at the side of it, they have another frame with the original newspaper page from the next day, in which the same general says, no, I was wrong. This is a part of these weather balloons, completely denying what he himself said the day before. So you say, what's going on here? You think this type of people would know easily from the first moment what a weather balloon is. So why the first day he said, this is something he had never seen, to the next day, no, this is a weather balloon.
Yes,
and actually, I look at Area 51 from the distance. I knew at some point I wasn't there. At the time, I wasn't recognized to be there. Then it was recognized to be there. So who knows? Everything is open.
Yes, yes. And Area 51, I think because of such incidents, you know, Area 51 is becoming more mysterious, because sometimes either it's just for fun or the reports are, I think, not always true. Like they could be, because some people just come up, and because it's already so hyped up.
But if you as I said, if you consider only the statistics that are just shown you from real science on how many inhabited planets there should be around, you start to wonder, right? But you also wonder why, if there any other civilization, they just have landed in the middle of some city and said, here we are, right? You also wonder why that hasn't that yet taken place. And the problem is, and I mentioned that, is the huge distances. It's not easy to travel around. And so at least from the technology that we have, we cannot go farther than our solar system with a lot of time, years and years, in order to get to Jupiter, for example. Less about going to the nearest star. So there is one problem of distances, on how you manage the distance from travel to place. And also, there is also an interesting question that the universe already have age. So if you were to compare the age of the universe to the human being, it's around 50 years of age. So a lot of time has happened. So there may have had intelligent civilization, but long ago that went extinct and that we'll never know about. We are a rather young civilization, so maybe all the interesting things already happened that we'll never know about. That's another possibility as well.
Yes, yes. The universe has been around for such a long time that we cannot rule out the possibility that there might have been some other civilization who came, who developed, who became technically advanced, and then they were finally doomed. And then humans came. We have one more question, and this is by our student 𝗪𝗏𝗲𝗸. She's asking, are there any planets like Earth out there?
Actually, from all those planets, science now is trying to characterize those planets that are more or less similar to Earth in size. They are trying to look whether how their atmosphere look like, etc., in order to see, for example, if there are evidence of having water, because at least for life as we know it, water is everywhere for life as we know it. And so they are trying to look for evidence of water. And so, yes, there are many planets at the size of Earth, and we are looking at them in order to see with the next generation of telescopes and techniques in order to try to see them directly and to try to find any imbalances, for example, the high pressures of methane or oxygen or whatever, that gives you an idea that then they may be inhabited, as is in the case of Earth.
Yes. We have one more question, and this is, I think, also related to that. Why we are trying to find signals of aliens on Mars, but not anywhere else. So the student 𝗪𝗏𝗶𝗲 is asking, are there any aliens on the moon?
Not what we know about. No. And there is also implying into this question why we haven't detected any. Well, as I said, it's very difficult to travel from place to place because it's so far. But why we haven't detected any signal yet? There was only one event in 1976, I think, which is known as the WOW signal, in which there was an antenna focused in a particular constellation, and it detected a signal that has the expected complexity of being of a technological origin. But we don't know about it. Was never heard again. That's the only event we have which may have or may have not come as a signal. But the issue is that we have been scanning thousands of wavelengths, all parts of the sky, that we haven't ever yet detected anything which looks like a signal coming from another civilization. But again, as I said, the window in which we do send signal to space is very short, from the 1950s to the year 2000 and something, 60 years or so. We emitted signals. Now we are emitting less and less, at the point that at some point in the future, maybe in the next 20 years, we will not emit anything. So we will be here, but we will not be seen by anyone else, because all our technology will be sending by fiber optics and any other techniques which are more efficient in sending energy as information from place to place and not as a waste to space, right? So that's also maybe the cause.
Yes, and yeah, one more question is also related to that, and this is asked by a student 𝗪𝗏𝗶𝗲𝗸, and he's asking about the recent picture that was clicked by the Curiosity rover. If you had seen it, the recent picture of the Curiosity rover, which was claiming that it has captured at the door.
Yeah, but the door is big, right?
Yeah. So he wants to know a little bit more about that, because aliens were linked to it. And is there any water present on Mars?
Yeah, of course, there is a lot of water on Mars. Most of it is frozen, that we know. For certain, we have scratched in the North Pole. We have seen it, the plate of ice, for example. And we can infer there is a lot of frozen water just below the surface of Mars, in most of Mars. But for that little door, it's just it's an amazing coincidence in which everything looks like a little door. But I mean, what I don't expect to see little aliens running around, right? It's just curious. I mean, if you just go to any place nearby and start looking at the rocks, most of them or a lot of them you will
and
able to find
you would
weird
be allowed
shapes,
to move.
but that
Okay,
doesn't mean they have been
each and
created
every one
as
of you
such,
have
right?
taken certain very, very interesting
Yes,
kind of
yes,
a spaceship.
yes. And like
we want
I
to
think
see
it also comes
that
down
who is
to
the
our
one who could
perception. Like
destroy
if because
all-
Mars is already so much attached to aliens, like whenever we see something which is not so ordinary in our day-to-day life, even though geologists might be more familiar with it, but when it's not familiar with in our day-to-day life, we might think, oh, this is the thing that we had been looking for since so many years,
Yeah, I mean,
and this
it
is
would
the
be, it
evidence
would
of
have been
aliens.
fantastic if that door would have been 2 meters high, right? That would be,
𝗔𝗹𝗶𝗲𝗸, are you ready?
This is
Speak up
big.
right now.
Come on.
Yeah. There is one more question by Shivansh. So Shivansh is asking, are there any aliens in Milky Way or not? And they're also interested in knowing about some of the surrounding galaxies of Milky Way, because this is such a huge galaxy, and then there are so many other galaxies. So what's your take on, like, can there be aliens? Are there aliens in our galaxy alone, or maybe in the surrounding galaxies
Well,
that we have?
as I said, the statistics say that we know there is thousands of planets around. Now we are in the stage of knowledge in which we are gathering the evidence of where we can say how many of those planets are inhabitable, that have the conditions for life, at least for as we know it. And from that, we're also focusing in those planets where we could find evidences that are actually inhabited, as I said, that we can detect something that could say, well, there may be life in this planet. And as I said in my long presentation, there is thousands of planets, many planets around. So it will be surprising for me that from the trillions of the galaxies in our universe and the billions of planets around, we are the only one. That would be very surprising. And actually, we will never know. We will never able to look at every planet. Not in our own galaxy, we're able to visit every planet. So, but again, the distances are so big that maybe in the other side of the galaxy, there are little monsters dancing or happy around, and we will never know about it because they are so far.
Yes, and the distance is like way too much. And let's say if we ever find any alien signal, and we are trying to contact them, so how much possible it is that our civilization will actually leave our solar system and may be able to venture out? Like, how many years do you think this kind of scenario might be possible? Let's say we found some aliens, they are our friends.
Decades and decades and decades and decades. Because, as I said, we are just thinking again of going back to the moon. That it is very hard, very expensive. We are already first thinking about going to Mars, which is much harder, much expensive. Think about going to another star. we don't have even the technology for doing that yet. So maybe in 100 years, who knows?
At least a few hundred years before we can answer
and
it.
also consider this: even if we want to communicate by signaling, let's see, we receive a signal from a planet that is only, and I say only 300 light years away. That means that the signal from place to place takes 300 years. So hi, 300 years. Hey, hi, 300 years back. How are you? 300 years. Right? So it's not easy again because of the distance.
We definitely need a breakthrough in technology to achieve such things. So can you also share more about the mission that you had described, Starshot? Like, because it sounds so futuristic and sci-fi, is it like how much of it is actually happening, developing, and like it has progressed in the last few years? Because it sounds way too futuristic, something like it's not currently happening.
I think they're going to achieve it because they're going seriously. It's a serious group of scientists, and they will develop this as a collaboration. Some are working in the light sails, some are working in the thrusters, some are working in the lasers, etc., etc. So I think at some point they may be able to achieve it. You may yourself or anyone listening to this start a mission, and you will look on how far they have reached in every stage. I think it will take place at some time. Not maybe this year or next year, but maybe in the next 5 or 10 years they will be able to do so.
I would be really looking forward to that. And there is one question by Bhavya Joshi who's asking, is it possible for astronauts to go on the Mars, on the Jupiter, or any planets in that solar system?
Yes, as soon as you have a proper spacesuit, yeah, no problem.
We can go to Mars, but what about Jupiter, which has nothing to land on and no ground?
As long as you don't go into Jupiter, that's fine. You can orbit around, no problem. But as you said, once you go into Jupiter, the conditions are really extreme. So no, I don't think we're ever going to try that.
Yes. And I think a lot of students also think that if we want to find aliens, the best place would be just finding another planet like Earth. But we have so many things in our universe. There are brown dwarfs, there are moons and asteroids, and something else maybe which is not currently discovered yet. So what can be other places, Dr. Armando, where we can try to think that aliens might exist there, which are not the planets as we know it?
Well, you may have heard about this weird asteroid, 𝗪𝗰𝗵𝗲.
Oh, yes. The students might have definitely heard about it, the 𝗪𝗰𝗵𝗲.
Well, consider that the director of the Harvard Astronomical Observatory, 𝗦𝗫𝗶𝗶𝗀, he claims, being the director of the Harvard Astronomical Observatory, that based on the behavior and shape of that, it could be the remains of an alien ship that went by. Maybe a scout, maybe something was, exploring the universe and just passed by. So, and no one expected that, and still we don't know what was exactly that. There are a number of alternative hypotheses. They say no, it could be this or that or that, but the truth is that we don't know what was that. And actually, people is already thinking about an extreme mission in order to send a spaceship to catch it, to still able to travel and see what is it. And people are already thinking about maybe doing that. So that was a surprise that no one expected such a thing to happen. And so again, who knows? The nice thing about science is if you're a true science, you have to be open to evidence. And as long as you have not the evidence of something happening, you cannot claim that this is or not possible, right? Let's just remember, not true scientists that in the 1900s say that human will never able to fly, for example, and they demonstrated clearly, no, it will never be possible to fly, to build a flying machine. So we have to remain open, but not to the point of going into science fiction and say, no, but that very there exists. No. But we have to consider, as I showed you the statistics, that there are so many planets around that it will be very difficult to think that the only one inhabited is ours. Thinking that in our own solar system, we're thinking about the possibilities of having the high Venus, the clouds of Venus that may have inhabited, that maybe the subsurface of Mars may be inhabited, that maybe satellites of Jupiter like Europa, maybe Enceladus may be inhabited, that maybe satellites of Saturn like Titan may be inhabited. All these alternatives just in one planetary system. And so multiply all the possibility for all the planetary system. I'm certain there must be some little crawling thing somewhere around that we haven't been able to detect, and we may never be able to detect because again, this is so far.
Yes, definitely. So it also depends upon where we are looking for, and as Dr. Armando is saying, it can be things like 𝗪𝗰𝗵𝗲, which is coming outside of our solar system. It can be any place which is habitable, maybe different from Earth, Mars, it's Venus. Even though it's toxic, it may have some form of life, at least microbes. One more last question I have for you is, and I see a lot of students are still asking questions related to universe and other form of lives. So one other question I had is, when we are trying to find life, like what kind of students, like the students who are still interested into astrobiology, because this is such a
Mm.
new field, what can these students do on their own, some activity, something they can do
Mm.
to learn more about this field, just like you are doing research in the Atacama Desert, where you're trying to find species which are very which are like extremophiles. They
Mm.
cannot be found and they will not live in our cities and suburbs. So what can the students do, something exploratory like this?
Well, actually, I think this is the best question posed until now, because you may think, well, what can I do? And let me tell you my own story. I started as a young kid in a small mining town which is now doesn't exist anymore. It was abandoned, as many a mining town in the north of Chile. And I wanted to approach biology because I always liked biology. And at that time, the only thing that would give you a good living in biology would be something related to winemaking. So I studied agronomy, the agronomical sciences, focused in winemaking. But after a year of working, I got really bored. And there was no intellectual challenge on that. We are more or less doing the wine, that's more or less the same way as the ancient Greeks did the wine, right? So I didn't see any intellectual challenges, so I study again, and then I get a number of first a master's degree, a second a master's degree, and then a PhD. And here I detected that I have the advantage that I was born and raised in the Atacama Desert, so I knew it really well. So when NASA started investigating it as an analog model of Mars in 2003, I found out that I have a huge advantage because I knew the desert so well that I could envision doing many things, and that's what I precisely do. So that's a good advice for the student. Find what you are good about, if you are interested in it, and try to focus on that and develop it. Because, for example, as I'm working in the Atacama, trying to detect, understand the close relationship between water and life in order to see, well, how can we find life as well in the universe. Other colleagues, for example, went into law, and they are thinking, well, what rights do we have if we found a new life form on another planet? Can we use it or not, for example? Others are thinking, well, if there are life forms in other planets, from the point of medicine, should we care about the potential pathogens that should be associated with those life forms? And so they are focusing from the point of space medicines. So there are so many ways to approach. Even artists in the space exploration have a huge role, because they have allowed us to imagine or see places that we have only imagined until we go there. For example, one of the most beautiful pictures I have seen around is an artist that is called 𝗪𝗪𝗪. You can look at the internet, which draw a painting of how Titan looks in the 1950s. And those type of pictures, or a man standing on the moon, or a rover on Mars, that entice so many generations of students to actually try to do those things. So you can approach it from whatever field of knowledge you want, from law to medicine to art, science, microbiology, paleontology, etc., etc. So I think the trick here is to find your own passion, what makes you happy about doing something, and then apply it to whatever focus you want to do it. In my case, I found interesting how to explore the desert and find new forms of life, and try to understand this relationship between water and life. And to the point that I cannot tell you what we could find on Mars, but at least I can tell you where to look, as I have learned on this analog model of Mars and Earth. Find your own passion and apply it to what would you like to do.
Yes, such a great advice for our students who might be only thinking it from just one point of view. As Dr. Armando is saying, we can, even if we are interested into one thing, we can attach it with other things too, because now in science everything is definitely interlinked. And when you grow up in a few years, you will have so many things to research upon, study upon, and you might actually find a way to combine your two interests, your three interests, whatever you loved as a child, to combine it with what you studied in college. And wonderful questions the students have asked. And I wanted to thank you, sir, for making your time even at such a short notice and joining us in this Alien Week 2022, where the students are learning about science and they are getting their questions answered related to aliens, which is one of the things that just keeps them awake every night. So thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for all the ones that have attended this.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, I think that was such a great conversation. I wanted to thank you once again. I had one question though. Just like you were talking about the Atacama Desert, here in India too, we have some places like the Ladakh, which has a very weird terrain. When I personally went there, it was looking like this is not the Earth. The mountains were different. It was looking out of this world. And then there are other places where there was a crater that had fallen in the past, and now these have just like there is the 𝗔𝗹𝗶𝗲𝗸 crater, so some conditions similar to that. So how can students who are, let's say, interested into finding these analog sites, because there are 2-3 sites which are in India which are really popular, good, have the attraction of science, but if somebody is just traveling, so what would be the things one should see, that this can be an analog site, I can use it,
the
something
first one
for me.
You have to do is an environmental characterization in order to say, well, this is analog in terms of, for example, the Atacama is an interesting analog model because it's so dry. It's as dry as Mars, so it's analog in terms of desiccation, and also not similar, not exactly, but similar in the case of UV radiation. The highest UV radiation level has been measured in the Atacama. Although on Earth we don't receive UVC because we have ozone, right? In Mars you don't have. At least you have UVA, high UVA and UVB. So you have desiccation and UV radiation. Also the soils of the Atacama, and then come the soil characterization. They are quite saline in most cases, and they have these compounds like perchlorate, which are highly oxidant. So you have a surfactor analogy. The soils are very similar. And with those 3 factors, you already have something to compare with Mars. Of course, the Atacama is not a cold desert, which is the case of the dry valleys in Antarctica. But the nice thing of the Atacama is that you can easily get to it instead of Antarctica, which is a nightmare in order to get in and out of Antarctica. So you could do the same thing: an environmental characterization, a soil characterization, and then try to cultivate whatever you want. You can cultivate from soils, right? Using different soil growth media, and in petri dishes, you can start sprinkling soils of different sizes in order to see what grows. And that will be a whole package. See, well, we have gone to whatever mountains, we know that it's really dry, that UV is such one, that soils are compound or whatever, and then we have found these bags. And there you have a start, right?
Yes,
Very
yes,
easy to
yes.
do.
Yes. That would be a great beginning. Yes, definitely.
That would be good. Just one advice from my part. You may briefly describe what I just talked about. So the next talk, do not repeat what I said, because probably they're all going to think about the number of planets, etc., etc. So they don't hear again and again the same thing, right? So Armando already talked about the number of planets in our galaxy and the habitable planet. He talked about the Drake equation, etc., etc. So the next speakers and so with the next one, so you do not hear the same story again.
Yes.
That's one advice.
Yes, definitely. I'll take note.
All right. Okay. So.
we starlight raining over me, like drifting through a memory. Wake up in your crystal sky. We're floating just to feel alive. Starlight raining over me, like drifting through a memory. Wake up in your crystal.
Let's see who we have over here. We have Yes, so we have so many students over here. Arif, Bhavya, and Simar. We are going to answer your questions. Yes, Bhavya, we are going to answer your questions now. Don't worry. So let's see what all questions are remaining. You can ask them one by one by one. Now, let's go. Wow, so there is a question by Arif Pratap Singh who is asking, is there water present on Mars in any form at all? So yes, there is water present on Mars, not in liquid form, but in the ice form. And there is lots and lots and lots of water. When we go in space, I am going to show you how does the North Pole of the Mars looks like, because it has lots and lots of dry ice over there and also water. So there is water on the South Pole and dry ice on the North Pole, and we are going to check both of these things when we head to the space next. And if you want to join this, if you want to go into the space next with me, message us on our WhatsApp number and we will explore it together. Wow, so let's see if you want to explore with us, where you want to go to space, and if you want to join us in the exploration of Mars, seeing where is water present on Mars, where is ice present on Mars, where is dry ice present on Mars, we are all going to do it together. Very, very soon, very, very soon. Yes, yes, yes. Is there any life on Mars? Simar is asking, is there any life on Mars? We do not know yet. There is some evidence that life was there in the past, but we need some evidence, we need some proof, and that is no longer there. And which is why we have missions like the Curiosity rover, like the Perseverance rover, which are scanning the rocks of Mars, which are finding any signal of life that is going to be there. So students, currently we are on Earth and the next destination is in space, where we are going to see how does the Mars look like, the dry ice, the water ice, and all the other exciting things on Mars. We're going to see that. And if you want to explore Mars next with me, you can message us on the number that we have over here on the screen. So it is 9125933774. If you message us on this number, we are going to give you the link and you can be also a part of our Kalam Lab metaverse. Let's see if we have any more questions. What are the other questions we have over here? Where we have to download the game. Yes, yes, yes. That is the link where you can download the game, and this is the WhatsApp number where you have to message us if you want your own roll number. So just message us on our WhatsApp number and we will provide you the roll number, which is your key to unlocking the Kalam Lab metaverse. Anita is asking, if somebody falls into a black hole, what will happen to them? Okay, Anita, that's a very, very dangerous situation to be in. What is going to happen to someone who is going to fall into a black hole? Well, the very first thing is they are not coming back. So this is a dangerous one-way mission. If they go into a black hole, their body is going to be stretched. It is going to be stretched to a point that your height is going to increase many, many times. So it is going to increase so much that you might look like a Maggie, like a noodle. And going near black hole is also very weird because time is going to slow down for you. Things will be weirder. You can see the back of your head and so many more weird things. We have a black hole in our Kalam Lab metaverse too, which we go on missions with, and you can explore the black hole with us together. All you have to do is just message us on this number and you will be ready for your own black hole adventure. Shivansh is asking, is Jupiter solid? No, 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 no. Jupiter is not solid. Jupiter is a gas planet. It's a gas giant. It is only made up of gases like hydrogen and helium. And that's why we cannot really walk there, jump there, stay there, because it's all gas. We will have to just float over there. Simar is asking, is there anything like a white hole? Whoa, such a weird thing. Yes, there can be a possibility that we have something like a white hole. That can be one of the possibilities, that things like white holes exist. But we have never found the evidence of them yet, so we are good to go. Because white holes are going to be even more crazy. White holes are the things where what is going to happen, what is going to happen, what is going to happen. They are the opposite of black holes. That means if you are near a white hole, things are going to come on your face out of nowhere. And they are very mysterious. And if we find them someday, who knows what is going to come out of them. Things go inside a black hole and things come outside a white hole. Very, very peculiar things of our universe. What is the next thing that we have over here? Any other questions? Yes, 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 Arya. What is your message? Let us know into the chat. And have you got your roll number yet? If not, just message us on this number. Is there any possibility of aliens on any planet? Lakshit is asking such an interesting question. Lakshit, what do you think? Can there be aliens on other planets? Are there any possibility of aliens on other planet? Oh, well, it depends. The possibility is very high. As Dr. Armando was saying, there are so many planets in our galaxy that can have life. What can be the possibility of aliens on any other planet? Well, the possibility is high. If we talk about our own solar system, we have places. What kind of places? Places like Mars, places like Venus, places like the moon of Jupiter, Europa, and places like Enceladus, the moon of Saturn, or Titan, the moon of Saturn once again. So Simar is asking what we have to message on this number. Simar, it's very, very simple. You just have to message join OP. I want to play the game. That's all you have to message. Is that not very, very simple? What other questions do you have? Come on, let's hear them out. What more questions do you have, students? Let's see, let's see, let's see. What other questions do we have? Khyati Pant is asking which was the first planet which was discovered by a human other than the Earth. Well, there are so many planets which are visible in the night sky. We have planets like the Venus. We have planets like Jupiter and Saturn. And one more. Yes, Mars and even Mercury, which are present in the sky. We can see them with our naked eyes. And our ancestors, the old people who came before us, when they looked up in the sky, they knew that these things do not move in the sky like the other stars, and they are really, really bright. So these must be something else. And that's how we already knew that there are 5 planets. And after these 5 planets, we discovered, or I should say Galileo discovered, other planets like Uranus and Neptune. So these were more planets which were discovered with the help of telescopes and maths. And look how exciting things we have now going in our Kalam Lab metaverse. We are going to begin a new adventure where you can learn so many more things. It is 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is the time we have a space tuition in the Kalam Lab metaverse. So feel free to message us right now and attend the class of
Welcome to the Space Tuition, curious kids. Welcome to the Space Tuition. I am your teacher. I think you want space adventures and help you complete the today's
So let's go. What is the next thing that we have? Any more questions that we have from the students? Arif says he has not gotten his roll number yet. So Arif, this is the correct number. If you have message that you want to download the app and you need your roll number, don't worry, you'll get it in a very, very short while. So Arif, Simar, Lakshit, Bhavya, this is the number you have to message us on and join us live in the Kalam Lab metaverse. Will there be a time that the earth is going to come to an end? Wow, such exciting question by Lakshit Chand. So there will be a time that earth can come to an end, and this can happen when our sun becomes extremely big. So sun is every day becoming bigger in size, And after about 5 billion years, what is going to happen is the sun would have become a red supergiant. And when that happens, what is going to happen next is we can have a place where the earth becomes either it becomes a part of the sun, or otherwise the other thing that can happen is earth can go somewhere outside of the solar system. It can burn in the sun. Very weird things can happen after few billion years. So yes, even earth can come to an end. So students, we will be coming back at 6:30 p.m. I will be watching and waiting for you. Keep your questions ready. We will be back at 6:30 p.m. In the meantime, Arif and Simar and everybody else, please message us on this number.
over me, like drifting through a memory. Wake up in your crystal sky, floating till we like drifting through a memory. Wake up in your crystal sky, floating till we fly.